If you have ongoing exposure to controlling people, it's a virtual certainty that you're going to experience blurry boundaries, which is why I've created the extensive online course called This Is Me, Establishing Boundaries with the Controllers in Your Life. There's a link below that will give you all of the details, and I hope that you would find it therapeutic. I want to begin today by offering you a certain compliment, and that is I'm making the assumption by virtue of the fact that you're here watching a teaching video, you're wanting to learn. In other words, you're the kind of person that wants to receive input in a way that's going to lead toward wisdom, and we have a word for that. It's called insight. You want to have insight into who you are and the meaning of life and how you can make it work in a productive way. Now, I want you to think, how many times have you engaged with that highly narcissistic individual and it just dawns on you, this person almost seems to have a complete, not just an unwillingness, but an inability to receive input, and they have a very, very poorly developed sense of insight. You know, at first you may think, well, you know, they're just being stubborn and they just don't want to take responsibility for themselves. But over time, it can dawn on you, I'm not sure if it's not just more than that. The elevator doesn't go all the way to the top floor here. They just don't have the ingredients necessary in order to develop insight. See, let's keep in mind that the defining features of narcissism are all non-insight encouraging ingredients. For example, they're very self-centered. They have an attitude of entitlement. They're deeply insecure people, but they try to match their insecurity by being falsely superior. They've developed a strong controlling approach toward life. They can be highly manipulative. They're not a very caring kind of person in the sense that they don't care about your feelings, lack of empathy. And so psychological insight is not just something that they choose not to employ. It doesn't exist. And that becomes very disillusioning when you're that kind of person that says, but I like being an insightful person. See, there are multiple ingredients that need to be in place for insight to take shape or to take root, and they're not there on the inside of that narcissist. The narcissist is somebody who has learned that life is externally based. With respect to finding happiness or finding your place of position in life. And when I say externally based, if you perform correctly, if you do the right things, if you're the one that makes the final decision, it's all about setting up things on the outside, then that means that you've succeeded. And by the way, you can tell, like, when it comes to emotions, when you call them out and say, well, some of the things in your way of doing things don't work. For example, it bothers me that you have such a bad temper. Then instead of going internally, you'll notice that they stay external. And they'll say, me, what about you? You have a bad temper. Or me, I don't have such a bad temper and I wouldn't have it if you would be more of this and less of that. And so they can't go to the inside. That has not been developed. It's what I refer to as the development of emotional competence. That was never something that was addressed well at all. Another ingredient that's part of narcissism is they spend so much of their time running away from the potential of being shamed. And they also run away from the potential of being in the inferior position. It's like, okay, I know there's a grading system out there, and I know that you're going to watch me and you're going to try to call me out and say that somehow I'm defective. That's not going to happen. And so what they do is they try to make themselves immune to shame and inferiority by pronouncing it onto you. And so they've witnessed how people who have a strong authoritarian attitude are the ones who get to determine who's correct and who's incorrect. And it's like, okay, I'll become one of those. And so they have decided in their own minds that intimidation, stubbornness, being overbearing, That's where it's at. If I get to be the one that calls the shots, then I'm going to be okay. And so that blocks them from being able to receive input from the inside out. Then we're also going to say that for a person to have insight, you also have to have a certain amount of humility or modesty with respect to who they are. And the narcissist a long time ago decided, that's not going to work for me. I don't want humility. I don't want modesty. I want to be in the top position. And so as they develop more and more a pattern of thinking that's based on all of that, then truth is something that becomes quite expedient. In other words, I'll go along with truth as long as it suits my narrative. But if truth doesn't suit my narrative, I'll just make stuff up as it goes along. And so they build more and more of a veneer that we refer to as the false self. It's basically whatever I have to say and do to look good. That's all that matters. Appearance is far more important than truth and genuinely receiving what makes sense to the standard operating procedures out there. And so ultimately they get deeper and deeper into the notion that says it's all about me. And the further they go with those kind of ingredients, then this is the thing that keeps the insight from ever developing. They wind up becoming trapped, or maybe we can even say imprisoned by their own way of reasoning. They have concluded that really it doesn't matter. Nothing matters that is not going to be suitable to me. And so they honestly so lock in on that when you say, well, actually, there's an interconnectedness that we have. And we want to look at what that means. They can't do that. And then let's take it even further. When you confront them and say, you need to do better than this, then they're going to come at you with rage. They're going to come at you with absurd, thin-skinned defensiveness that's very immediate and it's very intent. And so you're over there thinking, you mean to tell me you won't even consider the possibility that you might need to adjust? And by the time that you are trying to reason with them as an adult, these patterns that I'm talking about are so deeply entrenched, it's like, no, I will not do it. I have no need for insight because I've got my commitment to my externals and externals only. I've got my commitment to being the authority and to being in control. And if you're going to ask me to do something different, I will not do it. It doesn't fit who I am. It doesn't fit my narrative. So when you think about a narcissist needing insight, I think you can see that there are multiple other characteristics that would have to be in place in order for that to happen. For example, the narcissist would need to be somebody that has original thinking as opposed to just repeating ignorant presumptions. It's like you can't even go down and think, well, let's think this through on a fuller basis. In order for insight to happen, a person has to have a certain amount of integrity, which narcissists are in short supply of. In order to have insight, you need to be a big picture kind of a person. In other words, there needs to be something transcendent that guides you. For example, life is about love. Life is about goodness and dignity and honor. What does that mean? And how does that plug into the way that I treat people here at work, or how I manage discussions here at home, or how I discipline the children, or whatever it might be, how I manage my money, or whatever it might be? They don't have a big picture approach. They don't have transcendent thinking that guides them. Also, having insight would mean that you would respect boundaries. When we talk about boundaries, we talk about the fact that each person has their own uniqueness and distinction. And the narcissist has already concluded, well, there's only one unique person that needs to be held as distinct, and that's me. And so they don't recognize that maybe you and your differentness would bring something helpful to them. It's like, no, I don't think that way. In addition, the development of insight implies that you would lay down your need for control, which the narcissist is dreadfully afraid of doing. The free thinking and your free way of being scares them to death, because It's just, it represents something that's just outside of their comfort zone. And basically, in order to have insight, you have to also have an appreciation for each individual's dignity and worth. And in their mind, it's like, that's relevant to me only as it suits my purpose. Other than that, you don't have dignity, you don't have worth. So the ingredients that are necessary for healthy insight are the antithesis of what the narcissistic pattern is. And as a result, the narcissist has concluded, I'm only going to think and say and do whatever benefits me. Period. End of discussion. And you see, the crazy thing about that is you and I know that being open to new ideas and new perspectives does benefit the narcissist. And it does benefit you and me. It's the receiving of all sorts of different ways of thought that makes us fuller and richer in our approach towards life. The narcissist will just look at you like, there's no one home when you start talking with me that way. And my response is, that's tragic. And yet it's true. And that being the case, I'm hoping you can proceed with insight that says, I do want to stand for something. I stand for dignity, respect, and civility because I'm on Team Healthy. And I just can't live with this base, reactive style of thinking that the narcissist has. I want to have a richness that narcissist will never be able to participate in. I do hope that videos such as this can give you some good food for thought and help you understand what you're dealing with. If you've not already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so, and we'll keep more videos coming your direction. I want you to learn and to be the fullest version of you that you can be. As you look at these kind of things, I know that there might be a time when you think, I could use somebody that could help me out as a therapist. And, I'm a therapist and I've been recommending people to therapy my entire adult life. I'm so pleased to be sponsored by the people at BetterHelp.com. Right now, it's become a very popular way of seeking therapy. It's effective. It's cost effective as well. We have a link below that will take you to the BetterHelp website. There's a whole team of licensed professional therapists that you could choose from. I would strongly encourage you to go in that direction if you would have the need. In addition, I have my online courses. They're classes basically that would require a lot of work. I put a lot of work into them. There are multiple videos, teaching materials and documents, and then guided questions. Ready, Set, Connect about having right connection skills. This is me about establishing your boundaries with people. That's become our biggest one. And then Free to Be about finding yourself despite the controllers. We also have my podcast. We have my books and other resources. And I really do appreciate you allowing me to be on your journey with you. That's what I mean when I say I compliment you for being an insightful person, and I hope that we can join in that effort together. Narcissists don't have insight. That being the case, it means that you're going to have to move along separately with what you know wisdom to be. And in doing so, it positions you to be a person of decency, and it also positions you to be a person of peace.